Hey, happy Saturday morning, Empowered Living community. This is Paul Martinelli, and we are now going to continue our series on the Fully Resourced program. And we're entering into probably, I think the most, gosh, I hate to say the most important part of the program, but maybe it's the most impactful. And, you know, as I think about this, I've probably said that for every different segment, but this part, when you begin to understand the universal laws, there are 7 laws that govern the way that we think and behave. And when you apply your understanding of a universal law to a specific purpose, that purpose's potential is increased. When you apply your understanding of a universal law to a specific purpose, that purpose's potential is increased, it's released. And when you begin to apply these 7 laws to your life, to your purpose, you become aware of your potential in a way that you never did before. And so this is about a 20-minute teaching. And I want to encourage you to not take any notes. I want to encourage you, you know, in the Fully Resourced program, when you enroll in the full mentorship program, you get access to the entire teaching on demand, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, plus live mentorship with me every single month. But in the program, I guide the participants to watch the entire course of curriculum one time without taking any notes, and just allow yourself to let the teaching land on you, and then go back when you now have cells of recognition, and then go ahead and take notes. I'd encourage you to just let this next 20-minute clip land where it needs to land in your life. Land on whatever level of awareness you have. If a point doesn't make sense, don't stop. Just don't worry about. Just watch it all the way through, and then we'll be posting this back. I believe we post this on our YouTube channel. Go to our YouTube channel and watch it again, and then take notes. You might even want to watch it 2 or 3 times. So watch this 20-minute clip. I'll see you on the other side. Thanks. Well, welcome back. So we've covered a lot of teaching in this program, more than I think I've covered in any other program I taught, and certainly in this kind of power-packed format. But we have one last foundational teaching to look at and put under your understanding before we jump into the real work of the program, the exercises. And this is the understanding of the 7 laws I've mentioned all throughout this program. Before I teach the laws, let me set up some basic understanding and context for them. When I teach these, I always say that these are the 7 laws that govern the way that we think and behave, and that ultimately create our lives. I call the 7 laws the 7 laws of creation. So let's break this down just a little bit. Yes, they are laws. And yes, they are universal, which means they are not theory. These are not teaching points or opinions. These are laws. This means they are never changing and equally expressed in all things, in all places, at all times. This is a big concept to grab, but at the same time, very easy for us to accept and to adapt to. Whether in Rome or Cape Town, New York or LA, Austin or Albany, Cairo or Toronto, the law of gravity is always the same, equally expressed, and it's impersonal, meaning it's the same for a baby as it is an adult. It's the same for a good person or a bad person, a white or a brown person. The law is the same. The law does not change. It will not adjust its expression when a baby steps off the edge and would be hurt. It does not adjust its expression because the person didn't intend to fall off the edge. No, the law is expressed, and we fall under its expression. The same is true for electricity. It is expressed evenly, We can use electricity to cook an egg or electricity to cook a man. It does not adjust its expression. So that's the basic understanding we need for the term law in order for us to work with it. Some have asked me, why do I teach that there are 7 laws? You have to Google search, and under different articles, there are 5, 10, 12, 14, or more laws. Why do I teach that there are 7? I teach that there are 7 because I'm looking at only those laws that work and are expressed in our thinking, which drives our behavior, and the expression of our thinking based on these laws are causative in the field of creation. So I'm saying that these are the 7 laws that govern the way we think and behave, and as a result, ultimately create our lives. To be honest, I have no idea how many universal laws there are. I've studied this topic for more than a quarter of a century, and I've found at least 37 of them. But these 7 laws, when applied to our thinking, will affect how and what you create in your life. And since that is what we're focusing our energy on, there is of little value to clutter our minds with unnecessary information that does not serve us to that end. I always warn people not to go too far down the rabbit hole of curiosity in their study of all of the laws. Rather, learn, master, and apply these 7 first and get rich. Then, if you're still interested, go ahead and spend as much time as you would like. But as Wallace D. Waddell said in The Science of Getting Rich, and he wrote, get rich first. One last thing I want to make very clear, because many people who have a faith practice get hung up on the term universal law. They feel this is maybe New Age and not of God. Nothing could be further from the truth, as I teach them. So again, let me be very clear about what I believe and, after years of study, what I know to be truth. These laws were established by someone or something, and that someone or something, from my study and my experience, is God. These are God's laws expressed in God's universe, and as in all things in nature, the universe obeys God. When God created the universe, He created and designed the universe to operate by exact law to establish order. Think of how magnificent the universe is and how orderly it is. Every star, every planet, every galaxy operating in perfect order. It has been said that order was God's first law. First, God established order, then He created movement. The Spirit of God then moved throughout the universe to create this magnificent and ever-expanding universe. And we're still discovering its expansion. If we have movement before order, we have chaos. And without question, there is no chaos in the universe. I love seeing pictures from the planes that fly high above a huge storm like a hurricane. Having lived in Florida and been through my share of hurricanes, I can tell you firsthand, at the ground level, it feels like a lot of chaos. Trees and roofs being blown around and all types of destruction, to say nothing about the human response when some of these storms are approaching or hitting a populated area with people. Complete chaos. I remember watching TV footage of a grocery store in my city 2 days before the predicted arrival of a storm, and there were people in the parking lot having a fist fight over, get this, ready for this one? Frozen Hot Pockets. You know, those little frozen pie type food you kind of rolled up in frozen pizza, and they're fighting over frozen food that they won't be able to keep frozen or cook after the storm hits anyways. No thinking at all. Complete chaos at the human level. But when we go up 30, 40, 50,000 feet up and we look down, what do we see? We see something so magnificent, so powerful, so beautiful, and without question, highly organized. It's so organized that the meteorologists can predict with near certainty where the storm is going to hit and at what strength. It's amazing at how accurate it is and how predictable it is. Having traveled all over the world and been through many types of natural disasters, I've always joked that I prefer my natural disasters to be telegraphed for days before. I remember being in Los Angeles for a 5.7 earthquake and in Guatemala during a 7.3 earthquake. Both came with almost no warning or notice. 1 second everything was fine. The next second I was tossed out of bed and onto the floor in the middle of the night. No, thank you. I'll take a hurricane any day. At least I have a choice to pack up and leave. So, the purpose of the laws is to establish order. It is our understanding of the laws that are expressed in the weather that allows us to predict the path, the timing, and the strength of the hurricane. Without the laws and our understanding of them, we would be truly at the mercy of Mother Nature. So just as the laws that govern the weather help us predict what will occur next, the laws of creation serve us the same way. When we understand these 7 laws and apply that understanding to our life becomes a whole lot more predictable. And I like to have as much of my life be predictable as possible, don't you? Also, whenever we understand any law and apply that understanding to a specific purpose, that purpose has the potential of being expanded. Let me say that again and just let it sink in first before you try to write it down. Whenever we apply our understanding of any law to a specific purpose, that purpose has the potential of being expanded. So what does that mean? Well, let's take the idea that maybe we're all familiar with, something simple as floating. For centuries, all boats were made out of balsa wood or materials that would naturally float because at a time in human history, 270 BC, we lacked the awareness and understanding of the law of buoyancy. As you can imagine, this greatly limited what mankind could do with boats, how far they could go, how fast they could go, how much weight they could transport, and how long they would last. It wasn't until we linked our thought with purpose that the world changed. When mankind began to contemplate the purpose and use of metal, at that time it was used for weapons, used for utensils. But when we applied our understanding of the law of buoyancy to the purpose of metal, the potential for metal was expanded. And then we realized, oh my goodness, we can now make ships. And we now have ships that are huge. Every December, I take a 2-week cruise to the Caribbean. I've been so many times now that I don't even get off the ship. And why would I? The amenities of the ship are amazing. I go on a ship that has 12 restaurants, 2 rock climbing walls, a zip line, movie theater, an ice rink, 2 wave surfing pools, 10 other swimming pools, a world-class spa, shopping mall, Starbucks coffee, 26 elevators, a merry-go-round for kids, staterooms for 6,000 people, all on a ship. So, when you are driving to the port, you can see the ship for a mile away. It's massive. And every time I see it, I'm reminded that this thing floats. Think about it. This thing floats. Unbelievable. You can't wrap your head around it until you apply your understanding of the law to the specific purpose of making the ship float. And then, boom, it all makes perfect sense. Now, a really important part of this lesson is that we did not discover the ability to float things heavier or denser than water through the contemplation of the sinking of things. This is so simple and yet so importantly profound for us to understand. The focus was not on sinking. The thought focus was on floating. When I learned this, I had to examine my life and take a really good hard look at where my focus was. Was I a contemplator of the sinking of things, or was I a contemplator of the floating of things? And you know what? Well, of course you do. I was contemplating the sinking of things in everything in my life. I contemplated debt. I contemplated lack, scarcity, limitation. I would spend hours thinking of how I could stretch the little money I had to go as far as I could go. but I wouldn't spend 10 seconds contemplating on how I could simply earn more. Rather than focusing on how to make the most out of the least, I should have been focusing on how to create more. It's one of the reasons I say a silent prayer when I see or read stories about people who spend all weekend long cutting coupons to save 10 cents on shampoo and then spending 12 hours driving from store to store to find all the good deals. Others pride themselves on driving a hard bargain and beating a guy up on price so that they can get a better deal. I say forget that. Forget about trying to save 10 cents on shampoo or beating someone else on price. Just go make more money. It's a whole lot easier, and you'll be a nicer person, and you'll have true freedom. I'm convinced you cannot save your way to wealth. You have to earn your way there. I was recently in Rome, in one of my favorite cities in the world. I had just gotten off another huge cruise ship through the Mediterranean, and the ship got into the port of Rome early in the morning. So I was in the heart of the city around 7 a.m., when most of the street vendors were setting up for the day. I was with two of my friends, and one of them saw this vendor who was selling hats, and she wanted to see if, they had a hat that would fit her and that she would like. As all street vendors do, this guy had every type of hat you can imagine, every single style, all the colors, all the designs on his big cart filled with hats. So we went over and, he's pushing this loaded push cart. It was almost teetering. It seemed like it was gonna, it was balanced with like perfect precision just to keep from toppling over. And as she began to look at the hats, trying different ones on, I asked the guy how much the hats were. And he said, well, the type of hat she was looking at was 40 euro. But on the other side, he had cheaper ones. And he began to nudge me, as only a street vendor can do, pushy but polite. And I told him, no, we're not looking for the cheapest one. We're looking for the one that she wants. And like a true street vendor, he didn't believe me for a second, right? As she was trying them on and making her way through his selection, it was becoming obvious she wasn't finding one that she liked. And as he noticed that, he said, I can give it to you for 30 euro. We kind of laughed, and I said, no, that's okay. It's not the price. We really want to find the one that she likes. And again, he didn't believe us for a second. As a street vendor, he believed it was always about price. She found one that she liked. It wasn't perfect, but she would rather have a not perfect hat than not have one at all. And she began to ask, the questions people ask their friends when buying things. What do you think? How does it look? Should I get it? And the street vendor went into street vendor mode again, knowing this was the moment of truth. This was the decision time. So he said, I'll give it to you for 25 euro. And again, he's from 40 euro to 25 euro. And again, we all kind of laughed and told him, no, really, it's not about the price. She had to want it. And, she had to want it and she had to like the hat. And he said, okay, this is it. 20 euro. 20 euro, I won't go any lower. You've already beaten me up enough, he said. And I started to laugh. And I said, I haven't beaten you up. I haven't asked you to lower your price one time, So she finally says, okay, I think I like this one. So I told the street vendor, we're going to take that hat. And I handed him 50 euros. And he gives me 30 euros in change. He's charging me 20 euros for the hat. And I looked at him and I said, you don't get it. I don't want the hat for 20 euros. I don't want to beat you out of your price. And I handed him back 20 euros, giving him the original 40 euros he had asked for the hat at the start of the process. See, what I've learned, when we truly understand these laws, we can authentically come from a place of abundance, which has us serve as a person of increase. Because of my understanding of these laws, I operate from a personal value that says, in all of my affairs, in every engagement and interaction, I will leave the impression of increase in other people's lives. There is no way I was going to let that street vendor begin his day with me beating him out of 20 euros. It was never going to happen. Now, I don't know, but I suspect he probably sells those hats for 20 euro all day long anyways, and he's happy to sell them for 20 euros. And because he knows most people want to drive a hard bargain, he starts at a much higher price. I don't care. That's between him and God. I made the decision long ago that I don't beat people out of money for anything. What they ask for, I either pay them or I don't buy it, or I don't do the deal. I also have a standing rule in my life, and that is if a kid is selling anything and asks me to buy from them, I buy whatever they're selling, whether I need it or not. I cannot tell you the number of boxes of Girl Scout cookies I've bought and then handed them back to the girl to resell and double her money. And the look on their furry face is worth every penny. See, I want to sow into everyone's life, but especially into kids that are willing to put themselves out there and face the rejection to make the sale. I remember when I sold light bulbs door to door and sold dried fruits and nuts in the Strip District in Pittsburgh. I know how hard it is for a kid to ask an adult to buy something. And I want to encourage and develop that. I want to foster that and drive in them. I want to support that oomph, that go for it, that development of their self-image. Just imagine for $6, I can buy a positive self-image in a little girl selling cookies. You tell me a better return on your money. So I got a little off track there, but from the laws, but I think it's important that you understand the power of what you're about to learn and how it will change everything in your life, especially your thinking. So we have 7 laws. They are universal. They bring order and predictability to your life. They are equally expressed in all things and all people at all times in all places. When we apply our understanding of any of these laws to a specific purpose, that purpose has the potential to expand and express itself. These 7 laws govern the way we think and behave, and ultimately what and how we create in our lives. And I'm going to give you a deep dive on each one of these in the next part of the program. See you soon. I told you, there is something really powerful when you begin to apply the understanding of universal law in your life. Nothing will increase your awareness. You know, it takes understanding in order for us to make the shifts in awareness that we need to make. Understanding really only comes one way, and that's through study. It's through intentionally linking your thought with purpose. That's what James Allen said in As a Man Thinketh. He said, until your thought is linked with purpose, there's no intelligent growth. There's no new life. That's the key there. Until your thought is linked with purpose. Until your thought is linked with purpose. Thought is the highest function of what you're capable of. Purpose is why you do what you do. It's the filter through which you make every single decision in your life. Until our thought is linked with purpose, there's no new intelligence. And if you think of, intelligence, he's not talking about intellectual understanding. Intelligence, he's talking about the intelligence of life, newness. Think of your life. Don't you want new opportunities? Don't you want new experiences? Don't you want new chances? New growth? Isn't your highest hopes in the new? I mean, don't you focus on your future rather than living in your past? It's all about new life. And when you really understand these laws, it makes all the difference in the world. I also want to just to encourage you. Again, this is part of an entire course of curriculum. It's a mentorship program. It's a year-long program, and so, click on one of the links below to get information about joining this program, having access to live Q&A time with me every single month, and let me mentor you through on how exactly you apply these in your life, specific to you and what's going on in your life. In the future of these upcoming lessons of the 7, we've got a special guest. Holly Lanesmith is going to do a phenomenal teaching when we get to the law of gender, one of my favorite laws. So I'll see you on our next class. Be well.